Hello everyone. In case you don't recognize me behind the mask, I'm Tim. It's great to see you all. And I'm here with Craig Douglas, the new school building's owner's rep, whom we'll introduce in one moment. And we're excited to be here with you touring the new school building, where you'll get a first-hand glimpse of what's to come in just a few short months in our new Passive House building, a highly sustainable structure which Craig will walk us through and show you fine details on. And I want to thank everyone for making this possible, the whole community, from students to faculty who gave input, parents, alumni, trustees, and of course our donors who are listed up here on this beautiful image. I'd also like to thank the task force that is part of the Board of Trustees, Cindy Keegan, the School Building Task Force, which has helped us out, and Cindy has worked with Craig and the team all along the way. Thank you. So Craig, great to have you here, and thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Should we take a look at the building?
Let's take a look.
All right, that sounds great. So we are standing here at the entry to the new building, and I just want to point out a couple of things. This is all going to be a raised patio area in this section, which is, it's all permeable pavers, because one of the things that we really had to balance out is the conservation that we have over here where the stream is. So we have a number of systems in place to mitigate water. But basically here at the patio, all the water is just going to go through the pavers and down underground. We also have what's called a blue roof, which basically means that the roof up here is designed to hold water, about 12, 18 inches worth of water, which will then evaporate off the roof, and that protects, again, the natural resource. One of the interesting features about Passive House, it really comes down to the building envelope. That's what makes it or breaks it, because you have to build it essentially airtight. Once you get that taken care of, then the next thing is to mitigate heat loss, or in this case, heat gain. So if you look at the insulation here, you can see that it's 6 inches wide. That goes completely under the building. That's, standard insulation in that case would be like 2 inches maybe. So that's a definitive Passive House quality, I would say. The other one is that you can see that every joint is taped and sealed. So we'll come back to that later. But this is the exterior of the building envelope. So this is part of getting it airtight. And I think, why don't we step inside? Hi, so we are here in the entry of the new building. This is where Mrs. Cahill will be. And I think one of the interesting things about the design is very specific to get Mrs. Cahill out here in the corner so she can have visibility to the front and the side, which essentially mimics what she had before. And that was very important to her to be able to keep, visual track of the campus. She, keeps her finger on the pulse with that kind of thing. You can see the entry is more generous than in the old school. And the floor is raised, so it's not going to flood. This is Shelley's office, so there'll be admissions. And then over here, we have Becky's office with Becky.
In my office.
Yeah. So if we continue down the hall, we have the new mail room, which is also going to have a kitchenette in it, and it's much more generous in size than the previous one, obviously. It was important to have a kitchenette here because this is where people run into each other. So we also have a faculty lounge upstairs, but this was, this is kind of the heartbeat of the school once it gets going. And here we are in the Grand Salle. As you can see, plenty of windows. What you see here, this raised platform, is going to be the main stair. It was really intended by the architect Opal to be kind of, a centerpiece, kind of a sculpture in a way. So they've put a lot of thought into the design and the style of that. The intention here is to reuse the existing cubbies that are open, because we know that's part of kind of the philosophy of Waring. There's no doors, there's no locks. You put your violin in there, They will wrap around this building, this room here, and then the student mailboxes will be on the back side of the new stair. All these windows are triple paned windows that are coming in from Germany. They're due to arrive in October. There's really only 2 companies in the world that make windows that are this efficient. So, and that's the requirement for the Passive House. This window here actually will be a door, even though it looks like a window. So that was a request of the students, and it's been accommodated. So as you can see, the building is 100% framed now, and we're starting the process of installing plumbing. We're also, what we're standing in front of here is actually the public restroom on this floor. So it's a gender-neutral bathroom that has a trough sink all the way across the front here, and then 3 stalls with closing doors. So this hole right here is going to be the location of the elevator, which is one of the other things, really integral to the design was the intention that this building would, in a way, bridge together the lower and the upper campus. And so from an accessibility standpoint, this elevator does that, So we have at-grade access here at the lower campus, and then when we get up to the top, we have at-grade access to the upper campus. So we're standing now towards the end of the hallway. This is the student support section. This is the nurse's office here. It has its own separate bathroom. These are faculty offices, which are they're designed to accommodate 2, but they can also go up to 3 faculty if required. That was to provide flexibility in terms of how much space we need for staffing and how those needs change. And then over here, this is our first of 3 classrooms. You can see it's filled with all the HVAC ducts. The intention of the classrooms was to spread them out through the building so that we don't end up, some schools have wings. You'll have classroom wings, office wings, administration. We didn't feel that that was really aligned with Waring's philosophy. So by placing the classrooms in 3 different corners of the building on separate floors, it means that everybody who uses the building, all the occupants will be intermingling, throughout the day, which is, that is Waring's philosophy. So we are at the top of the stairs now, or what will be the stairs. Right now it's a ladder. And I think, what's interesting to note about the way the hallways are designed here is that they're designed in a way to kind of recreate some of the ingle nooks and things that are cherished by the students and the faculty alike. So over here, this one is specifically designed so it'll have its own seating group. We're actually going to have a counter here so there can be laptops. And then over here, more kind of informal, the width of the hallway is purposefully generous so that we can have informal seating groups on either side, kind of a cafe style. And if you continue down here, that will be your at-grade access at the upper campus. Over to the left, we have Tim's office as head of school, conference room, and then Robin Van Neck's office. And so Tim is front and center now. He's not tucked away in the attic of any buildings. Okay, so now we are standing in the west wing. Again, shared faculty offices, similar to what is directly below us on the first floor. And then this is the second classroom. This is the largest of the 3 classrooms, and it is also intended to house board meetings. As we move forward, this is where the Waring board will meet. So, and it's generous, there's lots of light and lots of space. So, all right. So we're down at the end of the west wing here, and what you see, this is going to be all window. So the view from the hallway just visually continues straight out over the campus. And as Tim pointed out when we were here yesterday, that we now have views to the field over in the back that we've never had before. So that's one of the nice surprises. The other thing that surprised me is you can't see it from here, but the views out towards the hill are actually really nice too. So that's better than I expected. And it's great. So the building really nestles nicely in on the site. I think one of the things to point out while we're here, this is another Passive House detail. This is something that comes from the benefit of having an architect who is an expert in Passive House and somebody who has been doing it for 10 years. That if you look at the top of the wall here, what you see is they've put that same zip type sheathing that we saw on the outside of the building on top of the interior walls. This is not a standard construction detail. Normal construction, your floor joist right there would be sitting directly on the top of the wall, which means that every wall on the second floor of the building is framed a ½ inch lower in order to be able to get that in. What's going to happen is after the electrical goes through, this sheathing is going to be continuous across the whole ceiling, and then it ties in to the sheathing that we looked at on the outside. It has to be continuous and it has to be airtight. And if you don't get that, you don't get Passive House. So that's the number one thing. If you were framing this and you forgot to do this, there's no way to come back and put it in, right? So then what you've done is you've taken your chance, your ability to get to Passive House, and you've made it much more complicated and maybe impossible. So the next step that we're going to do here, we're going to start doing what are called blower door tests. And we will seal off parts of the building, and then we pressurize it so that we can test our sheathing to make sure that it is airtight. And interestingly, because of the way we changed the detailing of the windows, normally you would do that after the windows are in, but what we did is we adjusted the detailing of the exterior of the windows so that we can test it without the windows. We'll tarp it off, and it's kind of a pre-trial test. And then when the windows come in, we do the final test, and that's where you get your Passive House. So yeah, we're pretty excited to move forward on that. Okay, so we're back at the main stair again. I just wanted to point out that we have a light well up above, because architecturally, stairs always look the best when lit from above. And I think we probably should mention the architects. Tim Locke has been the architect of record on this for us. And Alex Pagan has been the project architect, which has been great. And certainly, we should mention the contractors as well. So LD Russo is doing the construction, and they are phenomenal to work with. Nat Coughlin has been the lead. He's one of the owners of the company. Our job supervisor on site is Andy Williamson, who is also excellent, top shelf. And again, all of them, excellent communication, really a dream to work with. And then Charles Gallant just recently was brought on, and he's doing some of the project management as well. So if we continue over to here, this is the all-school meeting space. And when Tim and I walked into this on Friday, Tim Locke and I, who's the architect, Tim asked me, what do you think? And I said, our old all-school meeting space was a cave. This one is a cathedral. And it's really the light in here, the way they've designed the seating, kind of has an amphitheater feel to it. And the views, once the windows are in, are going to be stunning. It was important in terms of the design, really to highlight this room because, a lot of universities say that their library is the heart of the school. I'm thinking of UVA, Thomas Jefferson. All school meeting is the heart of Waring. That's where it started. It started around a dining room table. And so, I feel like finally we have a room that will support that at the scale that the school has grown into, for its, foreseeable future. So we're really pleased. And we're pleased that it has such a prominent position relative to the campus as well. It's the first thing you see coming in. It'll glow at night, and the light in here during the day, as you can see, it's fabulous. Okay, so we are in what I would call the south wing. Behind me, that's the entry that accesses upper campus. We'll look at that from the outside. Another shared office here, and then over in this corner is our third classroom. And the nice thing about the classrooms occupying corners is they get windows on both sides. So, yeah, I think everyone's going to like them once we have windows. So we are at the upper campus now, and this, where the blue tarp is, that will be the entrance. You can see the ramp. That's an accessible ramp over to my right. One of the things that I thought Opal did a really nice job was being thoughtful about the scale of this piece so that it sits as a good citizen on this upper quad and really, ties all the various buildings together. The other feature that I think is nice now is that the view between the upper campus and lower campus is open. And that is tied together off of the lower courtyard that we're going to be building, which is a much more inclusive kind of design strategy than what was really a barrier, was what the old school was, so it blocked us off. So we're really pleased with how it's nestles in with the existing trees and ties the two campuses together. So we're still at the upper campus. Here's that accessible ramp. I just want to direct your attention to up on the wall there. There's two scuppers. One of them is an emergency scupper. The other one is intended to collect water off of this portion of the roof. And so what it means is that on rainy days, Waring will now have a waterfall. When will it be finished? We're due to receive the windows in October. Really, the finish date for the building itself is the end of February. Really remarkable considering all the different challenges this year has presented just by being 2020. And I would also like to note that the building is on budget. And then since we have started construction, we have actually found another 20 grand in savings, which is frankly unheard of. That never happens. But it has allowed us to buy back in some of the detail at kind of the high value points, the high touch points of the building. So we were able to add in like wood counters at the stair and some other nice detailing there. The seating in the all school meeting space is cork, but then it's going to have a nice wood trim around it. So so it's great to be able to get that back. So the only other piece that I think I should mention is that we're on track for Passive House certification in order to deliver this building. That's part of what I had mentioned before about the envelope, the blower door testing and those kinds of things. We have a separate independent consultant whose job is to review that the details of construction and the performance after it gets tested meets that certification standard, at which point we'll have a plaque to go in the entry near Mrs. Cahill's office. It's also our intention to have a monitor that shows in real time how the building is performing.
So Craig, our owner's rep, I really want to thank you for taking us on this tour. You've been amazing to work with. We've had a few stories along the way. And I don't know about you, but I love this view of the building, coming up from the gym and up the street.
Yeah.
I was worried about this view actually, and to me the building looks like a treehouse nestled in these really, really large trees and looks gorgeous. And kudos to Craig. He didn't say it himself. He's been very modest about this, but Craig had a ton to do with the value engineering, and the money that we saved is not actually visible in any real changes in the building. You
Right.
did the value engineering without compromising the product.
Right, or the program. Yeah, that's correct.
Or the
Yeah.
program. So tremendous job. Thank you, Craig, for joining us.
Thank you.